We have a pretty damn newsworthy episode of SmackDown to get into. What is up, everybody? You're watching Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It is Friday, November 8th. I'm Denise Salcedo, joined by Robin Lundberg. Robin, dude, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling something. To see how SmackDown ended, that means something to me. I don't know if you've been following the product in the same era, obviously. I can't relate to you if it doesn't mean something to you to see Sami, Jay, Jimmy, and Roman all throw up the ones simultaneously. Sami Uso.
You know me, man. I'm all about the honorary Uso. We got a lot of Bloodline stuff to get into. We got a major announcement for the women. Those are really the two big things that went down in this show. But let's go ahead and jump right in. Robin, where do we even begin? Do we want to start with the Bloodline stuff? Do we want to start with the Women's Championship? Maybe the Women's Championship. We'll start there.
Sure, because I'm sure we'll talk plenty about the Bloodline stuff. I think it's well overdue. I don't know how many times, Denise, I feel like we've been on this show and had the same conversation, and perhaps I've repeated the same talking points about how stacked the women's roster is, how they're doing a good job developing all these different women within the story, even not at the expense of the men, but in contrast to the men at times. And there's no mid-card title, right? So what are they doing it for unless they're going for one of the big belts or obviously the tag belts? So I do think it was past due. I'm wondering if there's going to be an Intercontinental on top of a US, and they throw that over on the Raw brand, and that way you have two mid-card titles. But regardless, I think it was well past due. There is plenty of talent for it, and you can add a little gravitas to the feuds, to some of the characters, to some of the in-between stuff, rather than everybody having to chase the big one.
So, by the way, I think they said Nick Aldis mentioned both Raw and SmackDown superstars. So I know it's like very quick when he mentioned it in the video because he did say something about Raw and SmackDown in the actual video. So I took it as, okay, if you're a United States champion, you can sort of bounce around, sort of like you do with the women's tag team. That's what I understood. If somebody else caught that a little bit better, please let me clarify in the chat in case I got that wrong. But we do have a brand new title for the women, and that is the United States Championship. Now, a lot of fans had been asking for another championship bout. Of course, you got your two main titles for the women, and then you got the tag team titles for the women. Now, we have the U.S. title, which will be, the mid-card title for whatever else is happening in the mid-card scene for the women's division. Now, prior to this, Robin, I was on the boat of like, you know what? I'm totally cool with them bringing in another title for the women, but I did want them to sort of build their women's tag team division a little bit stronger just because those are the championship belts that we have right now. And I also wanted them to build more stronger contenders for the actual championship picture. But I'm not going to lie, the second I saw that United States Championship, oh man, it was so nice. It just looked so clean, so sparkly, so modern. I love the way that it looked. It looks pretty much like the men, I think, but it looks just a little bit better in my opinion. But maybe I should look at them side by side. But no, I thought the announcement though was exciting because I feel like just lately we've just been having a larger conversation when it comes to the women. Of course, it's a little bit more on the NXT side of things, but if the way that I see the women's division right now, I see it the strongest in terms of the storytelling and stars and all of that, and just of course, you can't compare the NXT women to the main roster women because they're main roster for a reason. But my favorite women's division is NXT, and then it's SmackDown, and then it's Raw, just based off the, feuds and storylines and things like that. So I do definitely want to see this as an opportunity, hopefully, to really start to tell more stories for the women, more than just the one for the main picture. And now maybe with this bout, we can, I don't want to see it be like the women's tag team division where it just gets thrown around and whoever can have it and it's not really a big deal. I don't want to see it like that. I want to see it presented in a strong fashion, Robin, where we're seeing like stars be made of this, holding this championship. Obviously, if you're going to compare it to the men, we've seen, the Intercontinental Championship do marvelous things for the men's division and for years and years and years. I want to see that for the women's division where it's like, okay, you're not the main champion yet. You're not the WWE women's or the world champion right now, but you are the United States Championship and it'll mean something.
Well, like, let's say Lash Legend or somebody like that who comes in, gets that title off rip, and all of a sudden is elevated as a result. Or, a long, hard working person who's been around and finally gets over the hump. But I mean, I'm sure I'll miss a name. But if I were to just like run them down quickly, and you say Jade and Bianca and Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan and Nia Jax and Io Sky and Tiffany Stratton and Lash Legend on the way and Bailey and Charlotte Flair returning at some point in time. I mean, that was just 10, I think I said, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody. Like, I didn't do it on purpose, but you see how quickly I named off 10 who are heavyweight champion title, women's champion contenders, so there's plenty to go around in order to elevate that U.S. title. And I mean, look at it on the men's side. Like, LA Knight was one of the most over people in the company for a couple years, really, before he finally got that U.S. title. And he took it off Logan Paul, who has been, in a sense, a star attraction, where they're throwing him in main events. He was in the main event in a Saudi card before all that stuff took place. So it's not as if they have lowered that title on that side. And I think it's going to be elevated naturally just because of the talent pool.
No, dude, like even hearing you say just some of the names, I'm like, holy shit, like there really is so many women, and sometimes you forget, I think. But I could see this, like you mentioned, this could be a bout that could be, like you said, for a rising star like a Lash Legend. But on the other hand, you have, people that are, I think the number one name so far that I've been seeing on social media, just like in my comment section really quickly, of who people want to see hold this championship bout is Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green is somebody that I think would be perfect, right? Because, she is someone that personally, I know some people have their doubts because of her comedic character. Maybe they do, maybe they don't see her as a, WWE Women's Champion. I personally see her there, but because she is that comedic character, I think that you could utilize her as a United States champion. And she's such a good wrestler. She's a different kind of a women's wrestler. So I do think Chelsea Green would be a great option. Another person that I do want to name is Naomi. You mentioned someone that's been there, that's been hustling, but necessarily hasn't gotten their due just yet. Of course, we've seen Naomi hold other championships before. She's gotten, runs in different bouts and whatnot, singles and tag. But I do think it's been a long time since she has really been at the forefront of the women's division. But she's been there. She's consistent. She's constantly entertaining, has a unique look. She's got fans. I feel like Naomi's another person that I can see be Women's United States champion. So like right off the bat, you name some names, I name some names. There are options for this bout. And so it's exciting to see what they're going to come of it and what they're going to do and what's going to come of the United States Championship. And they didn't really announce details just yet in terms of like, is there going to be a tournament? Oh, when's the tournament? What are there going to be qualifying matches? Like, how is this going to play out? How many people are in it? When is the United States Women's Champion going to be crowned? We still don't have any of those particular details. We just know the bout is here and the bout is happening. So let's go ahead and get into these super chats here because we got a lot of people coming in with their thoughts. Thank you so much to everybody ahead of time. We got Kevin Zwicker here who kicks us off saying, just when Sami is out, they pull him right back in. Oh, baby. I cannot wait to get into the Sami Zayn conversation of this, Robin, but just a little tease here. We know that this is a favorite when it comes to the Bloodline story. Like this is the dessert portion of the Bloodline.
Well, I was sad. Even I knew he wasn't joining Solo's team. But even just the thought of it made me sad. Like I felt it inside my gut. I was like, no, this can't have, and I like the way they did it too. I think they still have to explain, the journey a little bit. And there still needs to be some loose ends tied up because at the beginning he was like, you got to apologize to Jay and Roman never did. But I like the fact that they're carrying over some of Roman's persona from the previous era, that he didn't just come back a totally changed man. He is still like, driven by that pride, maybe a little paranoia, whatever the case may be, and didn't want to put Sami over in that, or even put Jay over. He looked annoyed when Jay's music hit, when he was about to start talking there. But by the end, Sami comes out, makes the save, I guess, proves his worth again, and you see them all throw it up. And that's just like, I mean, there's a case to be made that the Sami Zayn era of the Bloodline is as entertaining as pro wrestling has ever been since its inception. Like,
Dude, Sami Zayn's been my favorite, like just across the board. But then when he added this, he added a more sentimental part to the Bloodline, because everybody here has a soft spot for Sami. I can't imagine anybody here hates Sami Zayn, especially in the Bloodline storyline. I think he really, I think, humanized the story, because yes, you had the whole, element of family drama, right? That within itself is very realistic. We've all had family drama. But when it comes to Sami, I think he connected to people in a different way. And so he made us look at this story a different way. We even saw Roman Reigns in a different light because of the relationship that he had with Sami Zayn. And same thing for the Usos. And so, of course, looking back at that time period, it was very fun. So, of course, even though it's not that long ago, we still sort of get this like nostalgic feeling, even though it wasn't like 5 years ago, right? But we still get that feeling. We got Luis Arturo Mendez here, who says, I love that WWE is introducing a mid-card title for the women, but why not make it a different design from the men's title? WWE is very corporate. We know that. And I think they like things to be very much in line with each other and parallel of each other when it comes to the championships and whatnot. So I do expect WWE to make it pretty much similar to the men's championship, instead of making it an entirely new design. That's just like their MO.
Talk about them being corporate. I just received a promotional email from WWE. Just dropped bold new Bloodline gear. All of the stuff was on sale. What time did they send these things out? 10:13 p.m. So right after SmackDown ends, they're selling their, hawking that merchandise. The OTC with the Yeet on it is interesting. I think but for the title and the topic at hand here, it feels a little Cody Rhodes inspired. The way am I off on that? The motif for the U.S. title belt?
Well, it's hard because anything that has like the United States flag, we're going to think Cody Rhodes too, because he's like got that stuff wrapped all over him. But then also the white belt, the white strap, excuse me. He's got the white coat. He's got the white hair. So I know how you can look at that and see Cody Rhodes in it. It's just like going to trigger certain memory points.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Cody Rhodes, but he's that baby face. I saw the article about it, or somebody internally was saying they were happy about his title reign and how he's comparable to John Cena in a sense. But those colors are a little bit easier to match with than the Skittles-esque colors, as The Rock used to put it with Cena.
We got Sheldon Jackson here, who says SmackDown was good, but so is Fighting Spirit Unleashed. Congrats to Grizzled Young Vets on becoming the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Champs. They also announced Jack Perry versus for Wrestle Dynasty. Okay. First of all, I love how Sheldon is always in the know here, because I did not know either of these two things. So this is news for me. So thank you so much, Sheldon, for sharing this and always keeping us updated on what's going down, especially on the New Japan front side of things, because I've been so out of the loop, guys. Like the last couple of months, I haven't even tried. Honestly, I haven't even tried. So I'm like trying to get back in, of course, with Wrestle Dynasty on the horizon, with Wrestle Kingdom on the horizon. You're, myself, I'm going to want to circle back in there and get caught up. So thank you so much to Sheldon. He also says, also a prediction for Monday, Adam Pearce announces the women's intercontinental title. The Bloodline is almost complete now. Just need the wise man back. I don't know when he's coming back. I don't know if it'll be before or after Survivor Series.
What if you did it with The Rock and then Heyman? Like, what if The Rock, the next time he returns, he's interrupted by Paul Heyman?
Ooh. That would be kind of sick, by the way. That would be kind
of
sick here.
That's why I'm suggesting it, because it would be sick.
I would love that. I actually really would love that. Okay, sorry. I was just trying to read if we had any clarification on the Raw and SmackDown bit of it here, but I'm going to have to rewatch that whole video. All right. We got Steven here, who says, happy the women will have a second title, especially if the champion would cross between brands defending the title. Chelsea Green would be great as the first. Yeah, again, I understood it that they will be able to cross brands here. But I guess I'll double check that afterwards on whether or not that is the deal. But I prefer it if they did cross brands. I think it would keep things fresh and it would keep things a little bit more exciting and give people more more options on that end of things. We got, thank you so much, Steven. And I also agree with you on Chelsea Green being a potential first U.S. champion. Anthony Giuliano says, is The Rock the fifth member? We did have a little bit of a tease today with the Bloodline stuff. So let's get into it and what went down with the Bloodline. We kind of had a little bit of everything. So we had the Bloodline segment essentially open and close the show. They kicked things off with Sami Zayn and Jey Uso basically going out there and being there with Jimmy and with Roman. And during this, we have Sami sort of tried to get Roman to admit that Roman has a soft spot for him, that Roman loves him. He even tells him, I think you love me. Like, just tell me. And it was so funny because before he even got to that line, Robin, I was thinking like some of the words that Sami Zayn was using in his promo, I was thinking, damn, this reminds me of a love song. Like, why am I thinking of a love song right now? Just with a lot of the verbiage that he was using. And then he comes out with, I think you love me. And it was so freaking funny because this is like a serious story, right? These are serious men. And this is what we're getting. I thought it was hilarious. But that was like the first portion here. How did you feel about that part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if they're going to circle back to it at all because Roman wasn't able to swallow his pride and just apologize to Jey. But you do get that. I mean, I think they're playing on something there because you get that sense watching the interactions with Roman and with, Sami, that it activated a different part of Roman. And I believe, if I'm not wrong or mistaken here, that it was actually Roman, like beyond the kayfabe, who suggested that Sami be a part of that story. Like, he was a fan of his work in that sense and thought he could add to it. So you could see that translated on screen where they had a rapport. They had a thing, and it brought out a comedic side in Roman. Like, he could really emphasize that, like, the same spirit of no yeet, right? Like, the way you feel about no yeet.
Him, yes.
Yeah. And Roman could, drop that stuff and seem annoyed, but really kind of love Sami. And that was always the thing. Like, when Sami was first coming in, was he actually going to be welcomed in? Was there friction? What did he have to do to prove himself? So this was sort of the flip side of that in the way that they tried to bring them back together.
And after this, like at the end of the first segment, Roman Reigns basically was like, no, don't feel the same way that you feel about me. I mean, it was basically a breakup here, but he basically told him, like, you're not family, you're not bloodline, you're not an honorary Uso, and completely dismissed Sami Zayn and all of this. And he says, this isn't even about you. I want to talk about Solo Sikoa, and calls out Solo Sikoa. But instead, we get a Jacob Fatu promo. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is this one of the first Jacob Fatu promos that we've gotten? Because I felt like it was.
I can't remember ever hearing him speak before, other than when he was talking to you. That's what he
sounds like.
Yeah, I see him talking to you on your channel.
Yeah, he's totally different, by the way. Totally different. In the interview, he's like, yeah, like very chill and all of this, and in the promo, he's like so serious.
Yeah. But that fits the vibe that they go from. He's that killer, right? Look, yeah, I thought that was effective. I think, look, you can nitpick if you want, but you can hear the crowd, right? Like, you can hear the crowd. Solo got real heat. We can say whatever we want. He got real heat. The crowd is giving it to him, and in the spirit, I think, of the show, and not to mention Sami Uso. The pops for Roman Reigns when he comes out. I don't know if you noticed, but Roman's OTC shirt said "Yeet" in the top corner of it.
No, I didn't notice that. So it's a new shirt then.
Oh yeah, that joint's gonna go like quadruple platinum. OTC with the yeet is.
They should have done it like Scrabble. You could have yeet coming down and then OTC going across.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a Scrabble player, everybody.
I think they wanted a little bit of the subtlety of how Roman might feel about yeet on the side of the chief part of the OTC, but that shirt, that's what he was rocking tonight, was the OTC with the yeet. So the crowd's feeling it. They're into it. They're into Fatu. They're into Solo. They're into Roman, obviously Sami. They're freaking into Jey like hell. That's a lot of over people in one program. And if you throw The Rock in there, that might lead the league. I don't know if you've ever seen as many over people in one faction as this simultaneously, because You could argue Roman's the greatest of all time. You can argue The Rock is the greatest of all time. You can argue Jay is the most over in the company right now. And then they've developed Solo and Jacob Fatu to the point where they feel formidable. And Sami is beloved. That's a lot to throw into one mix.
It really is. Damn, and I'm already thinking of how much money they're going to make with those Yeet OTC shirts, by the way. It's a little bit of both worlds, right? But I loved Jacob Fatu's promo, by the way. I think he even called Roman Reigns stupid, if I'm correct. He did, right? Like he called him, it sounded like he called him stupid. And I found that to be utterly hilarious. But I thought he was so good. Like he came across as like super intent. Everything he said was clear and concise. I thought he got really, really good in terms of his delivery, because you got to understand, right? Like, of course he did, MLW and stuff like that, but a lot of what he did was indies. And I don't know how many, promos they had him do or not in the indies. I guess it depends on the promotions and whatnot. Sometimes they do have the wrestlers do promos. Sometimes they don't. It really just depends. So of course that may not be a muscle that he's always, flexing. So for him to go out there and I think deliver this promo, I thought they did a really, really good job with it, where like he kept you engaged throughout the entire time. And I feel like that's sort of been what's been working against Solo, where when Solo talks, you don't keep as engaged, right? Like all of a sudden you find yourself going on your phone or something. You're like, oh wait, I got to pay attention to this promo. Whereas Jacob Fatu, you're like, he's talking? I gotta listen to what he's saying.
I think they're matching the promo. You match the promo with the character, right? And I think that's right because I don't think you're going to see Jacob Fatu probably ever in a quip fest with one of these guys. It's about like, he's this scary character that you feel like is on the verge of snapping at all times and on the verge of snapping your neck at all times. And that's the way he should speak and present. I think they're kind of going for like this dick character with Solo now, because he was even like sort of mocking Roman Reigns in the way that he responded to him. So it's a whole different vibe, where Solo used to be the one that was trying to do what Jacob Fatu is doing now, but Fatu is better at that. And I think Solo's actually starting to develop a little bit of a personality beyond that, now that he's not playing within that tough guy brooding role.
I feel you, man. And so basically with the closing of the show, finally fast forward to the end, you had the confrontation with Roman and the new Bloodline. And this basically led to a complete melee and attack. And Sami Zayn did go out there to help out. And this closed out with the entire, with Roman, Sami, Jimmy, and Jay finally deciding, hey, we're all friends again, and throwing up the ones, man. I mean, it was an incredible freaking moment. What did you think about how they executed this closing segment?
I mean, I thought it was well done. The only thing again that was missing was, and I'm hoping that we get that later, the mea culpa from Roman or whatever, like, okay, thanks Sami or sorry Jay or whatever that got to there. But I did, when Solo did the whole bait and switch, and oh man, it means something to me.
Here's the image, guys.
Yeah. It's now my wallpaper. I'm gonna get it laminated while you got it there. Throw it up behind me. But when Sami, the bait and switch with Sami joining up with Solo, I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but they had me first. Like they had me going, nah, they're not really gonna do it, right? Nah, they're not really gonna do it, right? And Sami sold it with his facial expressions well. So it was enough there that made you go, nah, they're not going to really do it, to pop when he kicks Solo in the face, and then to pop when they throw up the ones, of course. And, like, I don't usually, Denise, stop to take a picture of something on my TV. It's just not, not the way I do things. I had to go turn the lights off on because the lights were glaring off.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
And I know we're about to record, so I'm trying to do it quick, because I was like, I need to put this picture into the universe, because I did feel it, So every now and again I'll do it, but usually that's not what I'm doing. And that was a moment that made me rewind, pause, change the lighting, and snap a picture. Also, so I could send to my son, who's he's in Cali right now. He's got a phone. He's never had a phone before. He's got a phone now, and Jeyus is actually like the thing that comes up for his phone. But I had to send him the picture as well.
Oh my God, what's he doing in Cali, by the way?
He's at the zoo.
Oh, how cute! San Diego's there, or the LA Zoo?
The San Diego Zoo.
Oh, I was gonna say, but they traveled specifically for the zoo?
Yes. He's always wanted to go to the San Diego Zoo.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, because if you travel for a zoo, I would imagine it'd be the San Diego Zoo and not the LA Zoo, because the San Diego Zoo is like really, really big. Like so much. You have to kind of, I suggest taking the little tram at the zoo because you walk so damn much at the zoo, at the San Diego one.
Well, they might be ranked number 1 or it's up in the top. Like there's that one in the United States. I think it's that one and then the one in the Bronx.
Central Park, right?
No, Central Park is like a little small zoo in the middle of Central Park. It's cool because you're in Central Park, but the Bronx Zoo is 5 hours to do the Bronx Zoo.
Oh my God. Had I known, I would have gone. I love the zoo.
Oh, yeah. Next time, I'll take you to the Bronx Zoo next time. Maybe in summer time.
Yeah, because I'm a huge like animal person. Like I love like seeing, like for me, it's the giraffes. I love the giraffes. I love seeing the elephants and all of that stuff. So for me, the zoo is always the place where I'm willing to go. Plus, I always have fond memories of it. You know, I don't know how many of you guys, like, you know, if growing up you went to field trips, right? My favorite field trip was always the zoo. It was the best. So it takes me back to my childhood. But anyways, Anthony Giuliano, to answer his question, is The Rock the 5th member?
I forgot. We went around and around. My favorite animal at the zoo is the Samoan werewolf.
Hey, there's rocks at the zoo, so it counts. All right, guys.
So were there rumors about them adding another Bloodline member recently?
I believe so, because I would not be surprised, because people are still waiting for certain names to pop up. And I know I had spoken to Mark Henry on last week's Busted Open, and he had mentioned, like, you know, he didn't really give any details, but he said that there was 3 people that were sort of in the wings waiting for their, you know, moments.
So that's the thing that gives me doubt that it is The Rock for sure. Like, I don't want to say for certain it's The Rock. The Rock is going to do something soon, though, right? Like, otherwise, what was the point of his appearance? You know, what was that? A Bad Blood? What was the point of his
Bad Blood? Yeah.
When he came out, didn't say anything. It was basically a tease. If he was just doing a, hey, I'm in town, let me salute the crowd, he would have come to the ring. He would have done some of his shtick, and he would have went home. But the fact that he came out and said nothing said a lot, right? It showed that he is going to be around for future plans, whatever they may be. I can't tell you if it's WrestleMania. I can't tell you what it is, but it is something. So that has to be paid off, and it makes sense. So if either it's going to be a new member of the Bloodline that's like, oh my gosh, there's another Tonga, you know, or it's going to be The Rock, and it certainly makes sense. And if you have Sami on that other side after that switch there, you throw The Rock in with that Bloodline, and that's box office, baby.
Yeah, because right now on the seesaw, like, you have really stacked up one side, and the other side, as much as we love Fatu, he can't replace Roman. He can't make up the space for Roman or Jay or Jimmy or Sami. Like, you've got to add a little bit more on that end. But we got Anthony Giuliano here, who also sends in another super chat saying the question is, who will be the first champion? And this is in regards to the United States Championship for the women. My official picks, Robin, I said were Chelsea Green or Naomi. Who are your official picks?
I like the Naomi pick. That's an interesting one. Like, a good way to, like, sort of, you know, pay off all the work she's done for so long. So I'm rocking with that pick. I like both those picks, though. I mean, I think there's a Lash Legend. Actually, let me make a different one. There's a Lash Legend would be my pick to make it different.
Stephen Marchuli says, Denise and Robin, who should be the first women's U.S. champ? Oh, I love how everyone's sending this, and we probably should have waited to get to the super chats to answer the questions. All right, just to give a different answer, that's not Chelsea Green, that's not Naomi. Here's what I don't want to happen. Let me tell you, you know what, Stephen? I'm going to give you something. I don't want to see Tiffany Stratton. Instead, basically, like, we don't know how they're going to determine the United States Championship, right? The one thing I don't want to see is Tiffany Stratton somehow, some way cash in her Money in the Bank briefcase for the United States Championship. That's something I don't want to see.
Well, you don't want it to come off like a consolation, right? And exactly. that would be that, because you're supposed to cash in the Money in the Bank for the big, like, that's been the whole purpose, the whole tease. I think you want to see it as something that is earned and elevates. Earned and elevates. The 2 E's is how I would put it for that United States Championship. And I think all the candidates that we suggested, that works for. Like, oh, you know, Chelsea Green, you've done all this great character work. You've been around. You earned it. You're elevated. Naomi, you've been around forever. You know, obviously participated in so many big-time different matches, but never really got that nod on your own. You're earned and elevated. Lash Legend, you were in NXT, or maybe still, depending on how that all shakes out, but I'm assuming she's going to be on the main roster for the most part going forward. You served your time there, built your way up, and now we're going to elevate you by putting this strap on you. Like, so all of those types of candidates are the ones that make the most sense. And I don't want it to be like a battle royal. I'm down for a tournament. They don't do that. WWE doesn't do that many tournaments. So I think, this is the perfect opportunity.
Plus the women's tournament. The last one we had was for the Queen of the Ring. And that was great, right? That was fun. But I think they can do another women's tournament for sure. I would prefer it if it's a tournament, because to me, when it's a tournament, it feels like they really earned it, right? Because you had to go not through one, not through three, or however, depending on, of course, on how many women are in the tournament determines how many matches, right? But to me, the more matches you had to win to get to this bout, the more it means. And I think you want to start off on your best foot forward. And to me, it should be a nice little tournament.
It also pays off this idea that we're talking about for the emphasis of the title in the first place, which is that the roster is stacked. So, okay, the roster is stacked. Let's have a tournament, display that stacked roster. All the women that do have it, because we just named several of them, they'd all be in the tournament, right? Plus you throw some of the established women in the tournament as well to give you that doubt. Well, could it be her? She's a former champion, but I like our plan from before of the type of person to put it on. But there's just so many women to work with, and you do want it to seem like an accomplishment. So I think tournament is perfect for this.
We got Sheldon Jackson here with some more news. He says Konosuke Takeshita versus Shingo Takagi, and it was just announced for the Wrestle Kingdom 19 show. Title versus title, actually. And then Ishii gets the winner. What? At Wrestle Dynasty. Oh, please tell me. I want to see Ishii versus Takeshita. I really want to see that. That's what I would hope for, but let's see what happens, guys. But let's do it. I really want to see Takeshita and Ishii. That's where I'm at. And I still hope, by the way, that Takeshita does not lose to Adam Cole this Wednesday. Just throwing that out there once again. Sheldon, thank you so much for all the updates, man. I like this update. Darth Steven here says, also Natty would be great for historical sake. Oh, dude, that's a freaking good one. Sorry, I didn't mean to smack my microphone. But no, that is a good one, because she's someone, what does she have, like the most WB matches and like the Guinness World Record thing that she has?
Oh, does she? Let me look that up.
Yeah, she has a Guinness World Record. I think it's for the most matches or the most wins, some for the women, something like that, or maybe most even matches, overall.
Guinness World Record for the most matches by a female WWE wrestler with 1,514.
Ooh, can you imagine if you can say, like, not only do I have the Guinness World Record, but also I'm the inaugural United States champion. And just, again, like a respect thing would be kind of cool for somebody like Natty.
Yeah, to culminate her career. I mean, that in some ways that would be like, the coronation or the recognition of an entire career.
Exactly. A cool little summary there. We got David Primero here who says, when would they crown the first women's U.S. champion at Survivor Series ? Or wait, Elimination Chamber in Toronto, inside the chamber, Chelsea's home country. David, what the F? Robin, we're slow. How did it take us so long? Now, here's the thing, right? Elimination Chamber is not till when? March or something?
No.
Or is it sooner? So they just announced it, didn't they? I just saw it pop up on my timeline today.
No, you're right. March 1st, Saturday, March 1st.
Okay, so it's till March 1st. That's kind of a long time from now, in my opinion. I love the idea of doing an Elimination Chamber match for the U.S. title, but guys, it's November.
Yeah, you can't wait that
long from now.
Or else, you don't announce it until, January or February or something. But
what would be cool? What about Saturday night's main event? That could be something to kind of add to the pay-per-view.
Maybe that could be the main event. Is the end of the tournament.
I would like to see that. So maybe something a little sooner. That's happening on December 14th. So that gives them plenty of time to do that. So even though I love your idea of the Elimination Chamber, it just seems a little too far. So I would go with Saturday night's main event, or they could do Survivor Series. That'd be great too, but we'll see what they do. If it's not Saturday night if you want to do like a big pay-per-view, it would probably be Survivor Series. Thank you so much, David. We got Mr. Acosta here who says, Sammy back, pile drivers back, Ciampa whooping ass back, women's US title here. This shit means something to me. It's so funny because Mr. Acosta here reminds me of the stuff that went down here with DIY and Pretty Deadly, and just like the whole tag team thing, the whole tag team bit. We got Motor City Machine Guns versus Graves and Waller and Austin Theory today. But my favorite thing in all of this was that Ciampa was mad. He was pissed. He was angry. Like, I like DIY, but I don't like that they've sort of just been on the show as just like whatever. Like, they've just been on the show. Like, there hasn't been anything besides like, okay, yeah, they have good matches, but to me, there hasn't been anything to like really grab a hold of in terms of their personalities or the stories or anything like that. So seeing Ciampa once again be like pissed off, and I was kind of surprised with him finishing with them finishing off Pretty Deadly as fast as they did today. But then when I saw how angry Ciampa was, I thought, I don't hate it, because that's been my favorite version of Tommaso Ciampa.
Well, and they also said on the commentary he didn't even have to tag in his partner. Like, he was so pissed that he didn't even have to tag into his partner. He made short work of my guys Pretty Deadly. I hope they're not, pretty jobbers or whatever.
I mean, if they were, they would still be pretty. So, hey.
I guess if it's got pretty in front of it, it's better than most things. But nonetheless, that you're right. I mean, DIY basically feel like wrestler guys, right? Like, here come wrestler guys. They're going to be in a wrestler match.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah.
But that gave them a little personality, a little character, and is something different to it. Get you invested in whatever their program is going to be going forward.
And the other thing that Mr. Acosta just brought up is, yes, we did see Kevin Owens bust out a pile driver on Randy Orton, and this led to Randy Orton being stretchered out and taken away in an ambulance. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't love this. Just because I thought that the whole getting stretchered away, I get it, because Randy Orton's back and they really played that up. I think I would have preferred, just given the way that the pile driver looked, I think I would have preferred more of a massive beatdown that led to him being stretchered out. So I didn't necessarily think that this was a 10 out of 10. I thought on paper it must have sounded great in terms of execution. It didn't necessarily hit the mark for me.
Well, I think for me the only problem was the move itself. I love the idea. I love the execution, everything but the move, because it didn't hit clean. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, unfortunately,
it didn't hit clean. But Randy Orton was on the shelf for however long, where doctors were telling him he was going to have to retire because his spinal cord was so damaged. So logically, it makes a ton of sense. Use a banned move that targets his weakened area. Orton sold the hell out of it. I thought he did a great job. The broadcast sold the hell out of it. And that's always like almost a borderline uncomfortable thing in pro wrestling when they sell an injury that hard, because then when there's a legit injury, you find yourself wondering, you never know. It's always, with pro wrestling, you never know. So it's always a little unnerving for me when they're selling a worked injury as hard as they sold that injury. But Randy did a good job. Broadcast did a good job. It makes sense, both from his history and from the move being banned. The problem was the move didn't look clean. And
that kind of just, it missed the, because if you're gonna tell the whole story of like, oh, he's being stretchered out, right? Like, it's gotta look mean, right? Like, it's gotta look like, oh shit, and it didn't look that way, but hey, it is what it is. They put it out there. Had it just came out differently, then I think people would have been like, oh my God, this was so fucking cool. And there's still gonna be a lot of people that thought this was really cool. And again, like you said, I get the attitude of it, right? Like, yes, this is a guy that was out with a serious back injury. And hey, I'm so angry at him that I'm willing to risk his life and do something so savage. That whole selling point, that's the part that's working for me, where it's like, okay, Kevin Owens was willing to cross the line. He was willing to go as far as attempting this pile driver to take out and eliminate Randy Orton. So I did think that was like the aspect of the story is great. Unfortunately, just the execution was a miss.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it does play into this, Kevin Owens has snapped sort of angle. And it also builds on what their non-match at Crown Jewel. So I think everything about it I thought was flawless, except for maybe the most important part, which is that the pile driver looks
good. David Primero here says, what will happen to the women's tag team? Speed and women's. I'm going to be real with you guys. I have not watched one speed match. I always forget the speed matches are a thing. Have you seen
the speed champ?
No, Ricochet's off in AEW. He's gone. Quiz me right now, Robin, and ask me who the speed champions are.
I don't know. So
I don't know either. We're going to find out. We're going to find out right the F now because this is my job and I should know. Hold on. Let's find out right now. I'm curious how many people here in the chat, by the way, know who the hell the speed champions are. I know everyone. I know Sheldon Jackson's going to know. I know a bunch of people here are going to know. But all right, for the men's, can you guess? Can you even guess? I'm going to give you 3 guesses, Robin, and who the speed champion is for the men. He's a good wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do want to see him hold the championship. He's on the SmackDown brand, of course. He had great matches with a certain somebody.
Andrade.
There you go, Andrade. Okay. The women's speed champion was on SmackDown today. Has colorful hair.
Candice LeRae.
There you go. Yeah, you guessed the speed champions.
In record speed. I did it quickly.
Champions.
I'm the speed trivia champion when given hints.
She's got colorful hair. Well, a lot of women have colorful hair, so you know what? That was kind of tough. But yes, Andrade and Candice LeRae are your speed champions. I'm assuming they're going to still continue that since that's a whole entire different thing. That's a social media thing.
It's just on X, right?
Yes, it's just on X. But here's the thing, though. This is the weird thing. I never see anyone retweet it on my timeline. Like, it never pops up on my timeline ever. And I follow like a million wrestling accounts and wrestling people. And no one ever like tweets it or anything.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm surprised, to be honest. I would think with the popularity of WWE and obviously that platform's attempt to differentiate some of the stuff that they're putting on there, that it would have popped off a little bit more and not just kind of, if a match happens on X and no one's around to see it, does it really happen?
Dark Queen 19 says that one dude and that other chick. That one dude and that one chick. That's exactly who it is. All right. We got Alvin White Jr. who says Solo hinted at the 5-on-5. So who would be the extra person on each side? So we kind of ran this down a little bit, but thank you so much to Alvin. I know the option that a lot of people want is The Rock, but again, it might be somebody else that we may not be necessarily expecting. Again, I'm curious because, like I said, Mark did say there are 3 people waiting in the wings. So that's the part that's kind of got me going, all right, well, let's see where we go with this.
But then who would it be on Roman's side?
On Roman's side, so who do we have?
Jimmy J, Roman, Sammy's 4. So you'd still have a spot. If it's 5-on-5, right? Let's say it's The Rock.
Cody? That's
kind of what I'm thinking.
I just don't feel like, how do you leave Cody out of War Games? Like, I get it.
Well, but
I feel...
That's if The Rock comes, right? And then Cody comes.
Right.
And then you've really brought everything all into one.
If it's not Cody, then who else would it be?
I'm not even sure. Have they added an allegiance or with anybody else or an extended program with anybody else?
I don't think so.
Because Cody just did the thing with Roman. So I think it is. I think it's going to be Rock and Cody, if I had to guess. If you're telling me to bet, I would say it's Rock on one side and Cody on the other side. And that's main event in the hell Survivor Series War Games.
Yeah, dude, I'm going to be here doing a watch along for that. So guys, let's get excited. We're going to do that. It's going to be a good time. We got Chris Ledeck here who says that Sammy Roman segment was a soap opera. It always is. It always is. We also got Steven here who says Rock joins the Bloodline. Heyman calls Brock and joins OG Bloodline. I don't know, man. I don't know what the hell is going on with Brock, guys. I have no earthly idea. So I don't even know what to think on that end.
Look, I think fans will, if I think that music hits, people are going to cheer. If Brock comes, and he just has that presence that you can't. And, this may sound strange, but what happened this week from a political standpoint, in some ways, is cover for the WWE to make some of these decisions. So they probably have been kicking the tires on. You heard Vince McMahon's name mentioned this week. When was the last time Vince McMahon's name.
No.
They haven't
And like openly admitted they went out to breakfast.
Yes, exactly. Like
he was a real pro at breakfast.
I
I'm sorry, I couldn't stop laughing about that quote. He was a pro at breakfast. I'm like, who says that? Who says he was a pro at breakfast? Like, how does one a pro at breakfast? I'm a pro at breakfast, Robin, when I don't eat everybody else's bagels and I only eat my own.
Yeah, the way he ordered the eggs Benedict was
just so fancy. He really buttered his toast like a pro.
He didn't take out his phone and send inappropriate messages during breakfast at all.
Oh no. Oh, but yeah, total pro at breakfast. There you go. Steven, thank you so much for the super chat. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says Jey Uso was #1 merchandise sales in the month of October, beating CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Bro, with that yeet stuff, how do you not? Like, I mean, everybody's got one of these at this point. Everybody's got the glasses or the shirt. They've got some form of yeet merchandise.
I got New Yeet City from Fanatics Fest.
Oh, nice. See, there you go, guys. Anthony Giuliano also says, what is your opinion on Xavier Woods turning heel on the New Day dedicated show coming up? Dude, the second that was announced, I was like, oh shit, this is where it's happening. Because they're going to do the New Day anniversary show. I forgot what day is it on Raw? I believe so. Yeah.
It must be on Raw. Yeah.
So anyways, they're doing that. They're making sure to like emphasize it and brand it. So I feel like that we had been waiting because I've been doing these Raw watch alongs right now for a couple months. And every single week we're like, oh, is Xavier Woods turning on Kofi Kingston today? Is he turning on him today? When is it going to happen? And it was, we get little pieces here and there. And every single week we think it's time. But for example, when they did the whole breakup with Otis and Chad Gable, like that took forever to happen, right? And then it finally did. So they definitely take their time with this stuff. So I think this could be the moment when they finally decide to, make that actually happen.
Yeah, I just like it's on the 10-year anniversary for the New Day on an upcoming episode of Raw.
They didn't say what date.
Doesn't say.
All right. Well, I guess we'll find out. We got Rafael Garcia who says, it felt rushed, but it might be a time thing. Also, you don't remember the I Love My Tribal Chief promo or the many I Love You solo. He talks a lot. He does say like a couple things here and there, but like a full-on promo with Jacob Fatu? Well, that needed to be the first, right?
I don't remember him. So I don't remember him cutting an individual promo until that moment. As far as the rush thing, I mean, yeah, I think we've kind of known all along. We've talked about. I've said it. You were going to get Bloodline Civil War at War Games. OG Bloodline against the new Bloodline. So you had to get it done by then. Like so, there's still a few weeks. Right, Survivor Series 3 weeks away. You got 3 more weeks to tell a little story here.
It's on the 30th. Yeah, we're 3 weeks away. Mm-hmm.
But and I think when you know each other like that, and there is the ties that can never be broken, it's a little easier to flip that switch quickly than if you were introducing something that wasn't already known by fans or felt by fans.
We got Margie Loves in the house who says my sleeper pick is Mia Yim. Oh my God, how did I not say her name sooner? She's another person that I love. Like hardcore Mia Yim on SmackDown has been my absolute favorite. We haven't seen too much of her since the dumpster match, right?
No. You love the dumpster match too.
I love the dumpster match. Are you kidding me? I was like, this is everything I want. But we haven't seen too much of Mia Yim since then. So let's get that going again. Great pick to Margie. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, who is ready for WWE draft for Netflix? They announced it a few months ago, but everyone forgot about it. I don't recall them announcing a draft for Netflix. I know people had talked about like wanting a draft for Netflix, but I don't necessarily recall them making it like an official announcement. Because trust me, I don't think people would have forgot it if they made an official announcement about the draft for Netflix.
No, there was a report this week, I believe, that Netflix has asked for Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns. But which I guess isn't surprising. Like this big, huge Netflix deal, they're going to want the biggest stars. But that report was out there this week that Netflix has asked for those 3 specifically.
Remember when Roman Reigns used to be the big dog? Netflix, guys, is the big dog. They're the big dog of streaming. So
Or I guess you can
big
go with
dog
the head,
wants, they're
the head
gonna
of the
get.
table or the tribal chief. Might be a little bit more of an effective sell in Roman Reigns parlance.
Big dog. All right, we got David from Hey, the name's up for grabs, Robin. Do you want to be Robin the big dog, Lundberg? It's up for grabs. Take it.
The big bird.
Hold on one second. We have something that someone said here, but I want to double check this. 1 second. All right. In the meantime, let me continue on here. Hold on. Eggsy Trek Jedi. Can you let me know where you saw this announcement? Was it on WWE's Twitter or where you saw this? Because I am looking for that and I don't want to announce anything if it's not out there. So, anyways, let's see what else is happening here in these super chats because I have a few more to read. Let's see. This one is from David Primero, who says, give the title to any woman except Charlotte. She's good, but too many undeserved title reigns over push. Sorry, not sorry. She should only be 4-time champ. I'm a big Charlotte Flair fan, guys. You guys know this about me. I am a Charlotte Flair stan. I think that she doesn't always get credit for what she has worked for and what she has done. However, I understand why a lot of people feel this way because they feel like she's overbooked, overrated, or whatever you want to say it is. I personally love Charlotte, but I don't necessarily see the United States Championship as a belt for somebody like Charlotte, who's already so accomplished. Like, that's why I didn't say Bianca Belair. That's why I didn't say Becky Lynch. Obviously, Becky Lynch is not there right now, but I'm not going to say people of that name only because those women are already so accomplished where we could sort of utilize this bout in a different manner.
The previous comment, sometimes people say things are announced. It was not announced what he said. It was reported by one outlet.
Oh, okay. Then we'll just wait because then I don't know for sure what's going on with that. Plus, I'm very particular with announcements like that. I have to see where it comes from and all of that.
It's not where, I mean, it's just not an announcement at all because it's a report, but nobody's actually announced it.
Okay.
It was a report. So he probably saw that online. Not to say it's false for sure, but there's no confirmation that it is true.
Oh, okay. Thank you. We got Alvin White Jr. who says, the angle was long. I wanted KO to attack more. I agree. I think we got a little bit more of the stretcher job than we did the actual like violence. But right, it was supposed to be the one move, the pile driver, and that was it. Like that was supposed to be the one selling point. Yeah. I do think an attack would have probably been a little bit more effective. Alvin, thank you so much for the super chat. We got Toby here who says, the title looks good. I'm excited. The women deserve it. Long time coming. I have another video that I'm going to be working on in the next couple of days. I'm going to aim to have it up on Tuesday because this kind of inspired a whole video idea for me. And I'll work on that. So keep an eye out for that on Tuesday, hopefully. And then also Monday, I'm going to be dropping an interview, which is why I'm going to do it Tuesday. But anyways, no, you're right. This does feel exciting. I think right now we're sort of in this place where, Robin, the women have been delivering a whole lot and you want to see that get rewarded. And we've had rewards for the women's here and there. We have seen it. There's been a lot of really cool firsts for the women in WWE, but there are still so many more that are on the horizon, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I a long time coming is correct. The women deserve it is correct. The title looks good is correct. 3 for 3 on the comment there, Toby, because I agree with all of those points.
Thank you so much, Toby. We got Anonymous here who says, crazy pick, Raquel Rodriguez. I don't think that's a crazy pick. Look, I'm a Raquel fan. I felt bad that she had to step away for so many months because she was dealing with, some personal health issues that she's been very vocal about on her Instagram and whatnot. And so I really, really, I really connected with Raquel in that way where she has dealt with some things like that. And I feel like when you have to be out of work because of something totally out of your control, it freaking sucks. It really sucks, right? It's not like an injury, because an injury, of course, it sucks too, but it's like that's what happens when you wrestle, right? This was a little bit different. And so I feel like Raquel being back in this really top spot with Liv Morgan and one of the biggest, like the hottest stories in WWE is really, really huge for her. But I could see her as United States champion. However, I still feel like that would be too many titles in this one particular story because she's so involved with Liv. that I feel like that would completely overwhelm and overshadow what could be potential other stories for other women on the show.
Though that has been effective before, where you click up the belts in one group. I mean, they did it with Judgment Day in the past. Would be a bit of a redux of that. We've seen it with the Bloodline, obviously, in the past. So I could see, I don't hate the idea in the sense of Raquel's supposed to be this big bodyguard in a way for Liv and Dom. You put her over by giving her the championship as well, which gives her a little bit more credibility. Because I do think, obviously from a size and stature standpoint, she's got it, but she's been missing something. So that could be something that could, help her out a little bit. But not my personal pick, but I get the pick for sure.
We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, I hope the Women's U.S. Championship is not like the Raw Tag Team Champion and not being featured or getting lost or just there. Yeah, that was sort of like the first thing that I said right at the top of this, was that I don't want it to be like the tag team titles where it just feels like it doesn't even matter sometimes who had it. At least for a while it felt like that. Now it feels like they're changing and, things have gotten better. But for a while there, it was just like, let's just give it to any two makeshift team that we have. We just need to get the belt on somebody. That's sort of what it felt like. Of course, we don't want that. Like, this needs to be, to me, built up like a serious championship. I want to see this as sort of I know people hate the word or the phrase stepping stone to another championship, but I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing. I see that as a cool thing. So I would kind of sort of like to see this as a stepping stone championship to becoming a potential, WWE Women's Champion.
I mean, it's the speech that they've given about the Intercontinental Championship forever. And it's true. I mean, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, so on and so forth. So many of the greats had the Intercontinental title before they had the world title. So there's no negative connotation to it being a stepping stone championship. Maybe let's call it a springboard championship.
There you go. It's like springboard to the top.
Yeah. It's like the stepping stone, you just kind of step and then you're back down. Yeah. The springboard, you're rising up after you step on it.
I like that. I like that. Anthony Giuliano, thank you so much for all of the super chats that you have sent in. Appreciate you, man, so freaking much for that. All right, let's kind of run through these other smaller topics. They're not as huge, but let's just kind of go through them really quickly. We had Bayley versus Candice today. I'm so glad they did not have Bayley lose to Candice here, because Candice has been doing this bit. She did it on Raw, when she was on Raw too, where she pretends to be injured and isn't. And she does that to try to get a win. And for a second, I thought, I hope people did not forget that this is Candice's bit. They did not. Bayley did not. So I was very happy to see that. But not really too much else for me to say on this. I just don't want to see Candice always rely on that, because it makes me it doesn't make me want to root for her, which I guess is great, right? Because she's a heel. But I want to be more excited about the matches. And when you're pretending constantly, that's the part of your story in a match, is that you're constantly getting hurt. I'm like, completely disinterested in that. So I hope they don't do that as often as they have in the past.
You also don't want to bury Bayley, like she.
Of course, that would have been terrible.
Yeah. So I think it made sense.
All right, and I think the last thing that we haven't spoken about is the Bianca and Jade match versus Tiffany and Nia here. This one was interesting because Naomi ran down because she was helping them out, because Candice LeRae had gone out there to help out Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. So they're doing this whole thing where I guess like Candice wants to be part of this group. I'm not really sure, but okay. Unfortunately, she lost Indy Hartwell to the recent releases. So they're trying to shift her character a little bit and give her a little bit of a different story. Totally cool with that. But Naomi and the distractions and everything that happened on the outside, they were able to handle their business on the inside. So this allowed Bianca Belair to hit her KOD on Tiffany Stratton for the actual victory. So overall, not really too much in the body of the match, but it was more so on like the outside stuff that occurred.
Well, I think, the way I saw it sort of resolving is that Candice LeRae is cozying up to Nia Jax at the expense of Tiffany Stratton. Right? Is it like, and Tiffany Stratton's ego got in the way a little bit there. So
she didn't want her help. Yeah, she did not want her help.
So I think that's kind of what they were going for there. So I'll let it play out.
And we got Zay Cruz, who's also asking if we're going to get the Women's Intercontinental title on Raw eventually. Don't know, especially because I understood that this United States Championship was for both Raw and SmackDown. So Yeah, we might need a little clarification on that one. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, I can see Roxanne Perez getting the U.S. Championship when she gets called up. They're taking long to call her up. I'm a fan of hers. I'm a fan of hers too, which is why I'm not in a rush to call up Roxanne Perez. I think right now, oh my God, are you kidding me? There's such a huge pool of opponents there that she can work with. So many different stories. I mean, they teased Zarya pinning her in the last match on Tuesday's NXT. So I'm in no rush whatsoever. Roxanne is so young. I think she just turned 23 this month. She still has so many cool stories that can be told on NXT, and then she can be called up. I am in no rush whatsoever to call her up.
Yeah, I mean, look, NXT is cooking as well. I mean, you've talked about your affinity for the women's division. They went head to head and beat Dynamite on the same night, right? Like not on a different night, not
on
a
their night.
on their night. Yeah, so is what I was trying to say. So yeah, NXT's in a good position right now. You have to, you can't just take and not give to that brand either to keep it going.
Yeah, because right now it's showing a lot of promise, and there's been a shift in the way that people talk about NXT. Because I remember when people would like come on to my shows and like make fun of me, Robin, for covering NXT because it was like the Fruity Pebbles brand, and everybody would make fun of NXT 2.0, right? And there were some shows that were rough, right? I talk about them all the time. I sat through them, I reviewed them, all of that, and people would be like, "Why do you waste your time watching NXT? Like, why are you covering NXT?" Right? But I'm like, fuck it, it's my job. I'm gonna keep going. And now it's suddenly like, oh shit, NXT is cool again, because obviously NXT was cool before, and then with the change, people lost interest. But now they're sort of gaining a different audience. Like they're being cool again, but for somewhat different reasons.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Shawn Michaels deserves a lot of credit. The performers deserve a lot of credit. The brand vibe is strong, right? Like, it's not quite the same, but it's analogous because we're towards the end, and you tend to ask like, "Hey, Robin, what are you up to?" I have a women's basketball website I run through Sports Illustrated Women's Fast Break on SI. Obviously, I cover a lot of that on my YouTube channel as well. There was a period of time where talking about women's sports or women's basketball would get you mocked, and now that has exploded. That parallels with the women we're talking about in wrestling, because we've seen it go from pinup divas to great performers, and to a lesser degree NXT, where it was thought of as a throwaway haha brand, and now I don't know if it's quite a third brand as an equal, but it ain't that far off. It's not it's not a whole,
it's not a step down anymore.
Yeah.
At least I don't, I mean, I guess it's different, right? Because in order for you to have WrestleMania moments and things like that, you need to be on Raw and on SmackDown. But it's not necessarily, I think, like the step down and a more maybe, how do I say this? You're not, at least for me, I'm not in a rush to get these people out the door for them to finally get onto like the good shows, right? Because now I'm recognizing the potential that is there. And also, since we're on the topic of women's sports really quickly, Robin, this reminded me, I recently got this email, and also this will also be a plug for tomorrow. Robin and I will be doing Sirius XM on Saturday. He's going to be filling in for Mark, so it's going to be a good time. But Sirius did send out this like programming email where they send you like fun facts and things like that. And I was just reading this. I'm going to share this with everybody. They showed like a lot of like different charts and data and things like that, right? One of the charts and data that they sent in was about younger fans showing growing support for women's sports and female athletes. Get this. They like asked a bunch of people, and it was separated by Gen Z, Millennial, Gen X, and Boomer. And 25% of the Boomer generation said that they are interested in women's sports. 29% was Gen X. 38% were millennials, and then 37% was Gen Z. So you're really seeing like Gen Z and millennials are the ones that are really showing a lot of interest in women's sports and female athletes in general. Now, of course, this is more like you're talking more, sports like, for example, the WNBA and whatnot. But of course, I feel like I see that correlation too with pro wrestling, because I do see people clamoring to want to see more women get these opportunities.
Well, and stars do a lot of heavy. I mean, it's no secret Caitlin Clark has been a generational, once in a lifetime kind of impact athlete over there. But in women wrestling, I mean, you've had those. Rhea Ripley, unfortunately, she's on the shelf right now. But she's one that you can main event the entire card with Rhea Ripley, right? Like she's got that star power, that magnetism, that draw. And I think eventually there'll be an even bigger star. Eventually there'll be a woman who we say is the biggest star in the company, bar none. Like that's the way things have trended. That's the way things are going. It just takes the right, confluence of factors, the right person, the right story, the right, thing. But I got to tell you, Denise, and it's not because I was like some male chauvinist or anything. I didn't grow up with sisters, so maybe that was part of it. Obviously, I have a daughter now, so that's a little bit of an influence. But I wouldn't even say it's because I'm like thinking through the eyes of my daughter or anything. But having done what I've done for my career, and I've been in media for 20 something odd years, and covered sports that entire time, and obviously followed wrestling that entire time. I would have laughed at you, not because I was trying to be condescending, but just because I thought there's no chance that I would be talking about women's basketball to the extent I'm talking about women's basketball now, or that I would be having conversations about women's wrestling and saying, who had the better elimination chamber match, the men or the women, who had the, and that's a constant conversation now. And I'm always giving my oldest a hard time, Raj, a hard time, because I feel like he grades the women on a little bit of a harder scale than the men. And I'm like, dude, no, that was a 5-star, because but
you're like, not on my watch.
Yeah, nonetheless, that's even a few years ago. It's not even that long, but Sunny and Sable were women's wrestling. That was women's wrestling. And now you don't have any of that. Like, you have good-looking women, don't get me wrong. Like, I see Jada Parker come across my timeline and I'm not having a problem.
You can be good-looking and talented and a good wrestler. Yes, exactly. Well, you can be both things.
But it's for the merit, for the performance, and standing as equals. And it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. It is.
No, I feel you with that. It's a fun topic to get into. All right, we got 2 more super chats to get into really quickly. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, who are your top 5 NXT call-ups in a future draft next year? Ooh, that's really good. Of course, Trick Williams. In the next year, I would also probably have to throw in there Julia. I think because I think she would go up there faster. Stephanie, I think, will also go up there faster. I'm trying to think who else. I want to say another guy, but I'm trying to decide what other guy I would want to see or who I think would go up there. Do you got anybody, Robin?
Did you say Jada?
Jada, I think will still be sticking around in NXT a little bit longer, so I'm not going to say Jada just yet. Ethan Page, sorry, I don't know how I didn't get to him sooner. Ethan Page is another one that I think will go up to the main roster a lot faster. I'm also thinking about the people that are a little bit older, because I think that they have obviously more of a, you want to get them there a lot faster because they're a little older. So I would throw him in there, and I could see Lexis King also going up to the main roster in the next year. A lot of the younger people, again, I'm not in a rush to get them up because they can, hang out in NXT and do their thing.
Sure. No, of course. I mean, and you want a little continuity there as well. I mean, I think it's cool when they do the back and forth. Even the Rhea injury angle coming on NXT was an interesting little touch.
Anthony Giuliano also says the number 1 person we name for women is Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus, I think, from where she started and where she ended up, she really did grow as a performer, and not just like as an entertainer, but as a wrestler. And I feel like that's the thing that I feel has earned Trish Stratus like a lot of respect. I mean, obviously everybody was like, I love Trish Stratus, right? Because she's so gorgeous. But I think on top of that, she also added, hey, not only do we love Trish Stratus because she's gorgeous, but we also respect Trish Stratus because of the growth that she had in her career.
She was almost like a metaphor for a bridge. Like, she began on one side and crossed over to the other side that we're talking about now, because she was involved in angles with Vince and all that, right? Like, so, very tastefully done, of course.
And she spoke about it in the documentary, and she looks back at it. I think, in a very positive light.
No, she stood 10 toes. She stood 10 toes, and
she's got no regrets.
Yeah, and it's easy. By the way, I respect it because it's easy to distance yourself as far away as possible from that sort of, especially as a woman.
Especially Trish Stratus, because we always go back and we always talk about, the dog barking scene. And, she talks about always being asked about it, but she's always being asked about it because it's such a, mind-blowing thing,
But respect to her for like saying, no, I was cool. I was there and I'm proud of it. And it's not necessarily that one specific thing, but
right,
the
her
body of work.
career.
Yeah.
Yeah, her body of work. Exactly. Thank you so much, Anthony, for all of the super chats that you have sent in. And also, I do want to mention, because Anthony had asked about people that might get called up in a future draft next year. The chat actually mentioned some names that I do agree with. People have been mentioning Obafemi is one, and I do agree. And I've also been seeing a lot of Fraxium, which is a Frazier and Axiom, Nathan Frazier and Axiom. Those two guys can also definitely be up there. So yeah, so I feel like those are some good names to mention as well. Alrighty, guys. Wow, this was probably one of our longest SmackDown Friday night shows, but there was a lot to cover today. So freaking thank you to everybody who tuned in. Next week, I will be back with a full slate of shows. I will be here for Raw's Watch Along on Monday, Tuesdays NXT with Chinadu, Wednesdays AEW Dynamite with Reg, and then SmackDown again with Robin. I was trying to see if we have any pay-per-views, but we don't got any pay-per-views until the 23rd. So it's a normal week of shows next week. But Robin, you mentioned your channel. Please tell the people where they can find you and support you and check out all the stuff you do.
Yeah, Robin Lundberg Show on YouTube, Women's Fast Break on SI. My socials are, my name, some either the Robin Lundberg or Robin Lundberg. And I'll be on tomorrow with you on Busted Open. So
come join us, guys. It's going to be 3 hours and we'll be there. We got some cool stuff lined up for the show. So make sure you guys tune in to Busted Open tomorrow. Alrighty, everyone. Thank you so much. Please do not forget to click that subscribe button. I'm going to have some fun announcements next week. So keep an eye out for that. There's going to be some interesting stuff coming that a lot of you guys might not expect. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Yeet.